I mean, like, most of us know ChatGPT and all these tools that can help us out, that will help us out with, like, asking a question, it giving an answer. So, but one of the challenges with any of these things is like it doesn't have a context. It doesn't know, like, what you asked. And what it knows is basically you ask a question, it answers, and it forgets. So how do we then build applications that kind of, that works with kind of like, you ask some question to ChatGPT, then you get an answer, then you ask a second question to ChatGPT, and how do we kind of build these workflows? So there are a lot of frameworks there are a lot of frameworks in the domain, and there are a lot of like languages. There's a lot of ways to do this. For example, Crew.ai, Pydantic AI, LangChain. There's so many of them right now. So out of all these things, like, LangChain seems to be one of the oldest one and one of the most used orchestration or whatever you call it, like, workflow tool to generate these workflows around AI. So that being said, like, there are three different flavors of LangChain offers. One is called the LangChain itself. That is like one of the first one that which they released. And the second thing is called LangGraph. LangGraph is again like, it's a very beautiful tool that is built on top of the LangChain. And the way it does is basically you kind of like, chain everything in a graph model. And like, you say, hey, you know what, like, I want to all these my entities or all these are my code blocks. And then you say, these are transition from block A to block B, which are called the edges. So you have nodes and edges. So this is what it is called a line graph. So there is a third one, which is like, a no code, low code sort of a thing. And that is called as LangFlow. And it is very useful for anyone who doesn't have any coding experience yet want to build something with an AI. And so we are going to go over that today and see, like, how does this LangFlow work. So let me, I will slowly share my screen. 1 second. Okay.
So one question, Sham and
Yeah.
Amit, if you can chime in, because I know that there were some queries from a lot of people, like how if they want to go in the AI field, or like the Python with ML or AI, do they need to have like do they need to do very lot of coding, or lot of coding is required? Because one of these questions keep getting asked, so I wanted if you both can chime in a little bit, Amit, that would be helpful to many of the
Sure.
members.
So I think there are two parts. One is coding, one is maths, right? So all the libraries we use, math is already abstracted. So that's like, we do not have to worry about the maths, except like, generally knowing like what's a median, mode, or mean. Let's say you are trying to populate or impute, this right term, missing values. But people do not generally have to worry about the maths behind it, I think. But it's like any other programming. Like, so programming will be required, but not the mathematics. Sam, what do you
Yeah.
think, or others?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, what you said is totally true. And like, so one thing we need to understand right now is we are talking about software engineering jobs going away. So what does it really mean, right? So because like if you're saying, hey, you know what, software engineering jobs are going to go away, and what does it really mean is what is really needed for this is more critical thinking, more logical thinking. Why? Because there's a lot of tools that can code for you as long as you know to ask the right question. For example, today Google released something called Firebase. Firebase is like, you can go and literally ask, hey, I want to build an application. These are my requirements. It will build the application, it will compile the application, and it will kind of like, go through that. And there is something called a co-pilot agent. It exactly does the same thing. You have to tell it like, what you want to build, and it will automatically build for you. I mean, like, yes, like, is it going to be, is it going to be the best code that is available? For me, may not be. So probably like, it will help you to kind of spend time to understand the code that has been generated. So you need to have at least a capability to understand the code that has been generated, not the write the code. So it's always a good idea to take some sort of a simple Python or something like that. And like even like even though I have experience with some Python and some like C sharp and other languages, I don't really code anymore. I use Copilot and say, hey, I want a function to transfer a file, and boom, like it spit out the whole code. I just verify the code and see, hey, you know what, it is doing what it needs to be done, and then we're good. So that being said, like you really don't coding, but you need to understand the coding. That's what is needed here.
I
Hope that
agree.
answers
I
the question.
agree. And thanks for putting that, because to be honest, I feel like nowadays it's much, they have, AI is one thing where it's helping is like kind of, to do less and less coding and give more and more reasoning. So of course, like that's something which we need to utilize more and more. So I agree with you both, and thanks for clarifying those, because I know that many times when I talk to people, they have these questions, and I just wanted to bring this forth so that they can hear firsthand.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. So could you guys can you guys see my screen?
I can see it.
Yes.
Yeah, we can
Okay,
see.
cool. Okay. So what is LangFlow? So there are two ways that you can start exploring the LangFlow. One is like you go to this langflow.org and you can click on this get started for free, and like you can just what you can do is basically do a sign up here with your GitHub account or whatever it is. Once you do a sign up, like what happens is it will get something like, oh sorry, my bad. Okay, let's go back again. Okay, so yeah, so once you do this, you can sign up. Once you sign up, what happens is basically like once you sign up, you can use your GitHub account or any other account. Once you do that, you are presented with some sort of a screen like this. So if you look at it, there are two things here. One is called AstraDB, and the second thing is LangFlow, low code app deployment development review. So so if you see this, like what we can do right now is basically instead of going and like talking too much, like I'll show it to you, because like we have seen these kind of we have seen these tools a lot of times. So I'm just going to click and show it to you, like how it works. So basically, like first we'll take a very simple one, which is a basic prompting. Okay. So as soon
So
as you
what's the, if you could talk about Sham, like what's the like in a use case for basic prompting? Let's say people are not familiar with
oh no
what
worries,
will
yeah.
be the output or outcome.
Yeah. So basically, like what it does is uh, you take a prompt. Okay. So what it does is basically what we're building right now here is like it's just like a chat GPT. So it's just like chat GPT. It opens your chat window and it takes your prompt. It sends it to OpenAI, and then what happens is like whatever the response that it gets, it spits out back into the chat window. Okay. So so here is like basically like the way you do it is like although this one has created this template for us, right? But there are a lot, like the way it is like, for example, like this is a chat input. So if you click on it here, you see that there is a chat input here. Okay, you click on this chat input and you paste it here, so the chat input comes over here. Okay, then what it is your prompt. So like everybody needs like there's something called a system prompt, and you need this answer the user if you are a Gen AI expert enthusiastic about helping them get started building something fresh. Okay, so this is your prompt. So what we're doing here is basically we are using something like a blocks to what do you call? We are using something like blocks to kind of like build this framework. Okay. So what happens now is like you have a chat GPT here, you have a prompt here, then this is your LLM, right? So your LLM here is basically it says like this is the input, but where are you getting your input? We are getting it from the chat input. And where I'm getting the system message, we are getting it from the prompt. Okay. Now what happens? So what we're using, we are using Gemini 4.0 mini model. Okay. So now basically there are two ways to put this one. Okay. So one way to do it is like, I can add a new variable and I can call it, what do you call, OPENAI underscore T. Okay. And basically, let me copy my, where is my 1 second now? OpenAI. Where is my OpenAI key? Yeah, I think. Okay. So basically, what I did right now, if you guys see, basically I created a global variable, which is called OpenAPI key. And I kind of said like, use this OpenAPI key here. Are you guys so far with me? Okay, cool. Then what happens? Like, once, so what it does is I say, hi, like, I want to know blah, 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 something. So what happens is this one goes as an input, this one goes as a prompt here, and it does like, the magic of the, what do you call, OpenAI. Then it gets a message out and the message comes to this text, which is called chat output. Okay. Now, how easy it is. Like you did not have to even write a single line of code here, right? It generated everything for you. So what is the advantage of, so let's see like, if it works or not. Okay. So we are going to just say hello. It is going to say hello.
Nice. But it
Okay,
hasn't
it's
given
running.
the. So, oh, it's running. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like, have the least, what do you call, $10 API key. So I
Yeah,
just pay
that's
for
good.
like, what I use.
The
So
other
that's why
thing
it is.
people might think that it can be costly, but it is not. Like if you have a
Yeah.
GPT-4 or mini, the one you're using, it probably will cost you a cent or 2 cent, like in few days. So
Yeah.
if you had to get the like subscription, don't worry, it's very like price
Yeah.
friendly.
Let's see.
And while you're waiting,
Uh,
I think few people joined. Like I see Mano, you joined, and Paris, welcome back. Uh, Mano, do you want to quickly introduce yourself and like
I think there is an issue, I guess. Let me check that one and come back.
hey Mano, you're mute.
Yeah, hello. My name is Manohar, and I work as a CCI technical lead. I'm
Welcome,
interested
welcome.
in LLM and agents.
Nice. You're the right place, Manohar. And Sham is giving a demo of a tool called LangFlow, and he's demonstrating how, without much coding, like you can get this agentic AI up. So welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
So one quick question. So our goal here is to, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, like I'm trying to understand. So our goal here is to use LangFlow to build apps like ChatGPT using OpenAI. Is that correct?
So yeah, like we'll go to more complex here. Like this particular workflow is that. Okay. So so this particular workflow is that like we are trying to build a what do you call chat GPT with it. Okay. So
So
So we
can
have
I
this
add like
prediction.
Sham, like so I think what will happen in the real like life, right? When you work on generative AI projects, the need could be look at a legal document and generate like what's the legal clause for that section. So for that, like ChatGPT, we cannot rely on, right? Because that's only one type of interface. So likely you'll have to build some kind of integration to an LLM, which happens to be OpenAI in this case. So this is demonstrating, Sham is trying to show like how you can connect to OpenAI or an LLM like OpenAI and you can communicate to it.
Yeah, I think my key is not working, I guess. Let me check that.
No worries. And I think Sandeep just joined. Hey, Sandeep.
Yeah, okay. Because I have the least amount of plans, so that's the reason I think they'll put it in the last this thing. Okay. So we got the response here. Did you guys see that? Like, we got like, artificial, I asked like, what is AI? And it gave us the response back. Okay. So
And I know
far,
some
are you
people
guys
are
with
joining a
me?
little bit late, right? So, I have recorded this from Sham and I'll share that video with all of you.
Yeah. So far, are you guys with me? Like, you understand what we did and how we did it? Or do you have any questions?
You can go back to your graph one more time, right?
Yeah. So
And
this
if
is
I
the
have to,
graph.
yeah.
Go ahead.
So if I have to summarize, like probably as a spectator, like there are two multiple things happening, right? So uh, you have an input chat input happening where the user is entering value. Right? That's the first block. And second block is where it's always when you need to communicate to an LLM like OpenAI, you have to give not only the user input, but also a system message. And you are saying that, LLM you are and GNAI expert, give like some response back. Uh, and then you combine them and you make a call to the OpenAI and you're calling GPT-4o mini model and you're passing the OpenAI API key so it can understand like you are making that call. And that is giving you the response which you're displaying.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you need to see? There is a chat input, there is a chat output, there is LLM, there is a prompt.
Yeah, so the prompt and chat input is combined, or like,
Prompt and chat input. Yeah. So if you take prompts, right, there are multiple type of prompts. Okay. One is called system prompt. One is called user message or user prompt. The second message, there is something called AI message. And there is like, a couple of them like that. So system message is like, an Uber message. Hey, I want you to do blah, 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 blah sort of a thing. Suppose you are an expert. I want to like, answer any question that a user asks you. Okay. That is a system prompt. Okay. So that's what
Some
we
of
are
the
for.
prompts I've created, like let's say if in healthcare app, right? So you might say, you're an healthcare expert. Please provide user from healthcare domain. Or you might say you are a legal expert. Please provide suggestion from legal domain. You know, so you can also customize what type of system message you want to send to the LLM.
So this is a very simple thing that we did right now, right? This is basically like, you got a chat input prompt or AI to get and this is chat output. So now we are going to go like, I'm going to tell you like few more things here. So one is like, inputs, like, like we have a chat input and a text input. Chat input is more comes from the thing, and text input is like, it is like, there is a basic difference. It says like, text input is like, sort of, how do you say it, like one line message sort of a thing. And then we have outputs, like, we have chat output and a text output, and we have prompt. And basically the prompt is the sum. Actually, whatever we put it here. So whenever we want to add, we add a prompt. So now there are two ways to do it. One, sometimes like, if you don't want a chat input, you can always put it as the same thing into what do you call everything here. Meaning that like, hey, I want you to tell me about like, AI, for example, that, right? You can just put it here. You don't have to put this in here. Or you can say like, don't put system prompt anything here. Let the user itself like, put everything there, meaning that like, combine these two into one, or you can have both separated. If you have separated both of them, one goes to system message, the other goes to input. If you combine these two, everything goes to input. I've built like, pipelines where like, I literally like, I know what I'm passing. So I just like, directly pass the inputs here. Okay. So there are multiple things here. So there is a data here, like, whatever the data that you want, API request directly file and all these things. So there are multiple connectors here. Okay. Okay. You see all these connectors here, you can see multiple, for example, vector stores are there, what models you want to use, like, so combine data, combine text, data frame operations, filter data, filter values. I've seen like, so I mean, like I usually, because I know some coding, I shifted to LangGraphs very fast. Like, I built a couple of them just for sake of it, for sake of understanding the tool. But there are a lot of people like, there are a lot of people who are coming from finance and other areas. I've seen them build like really, really, really complex like workflows with that. All you need is a little bit of a patience and like, that curiosity. And anybody, these tools, like I'll tell you, like with these tools, anybody can be an AI engineer. So all you need is a bit of a patience, and like, there's a lot of YouTube videos around this. You can always learn from that. So language models is like, language models. There's a bunch of language models here, like, AML, Amazon Bedrock. So these are all like, all these connectors are there, like, you can use any of them here. Okay. So I'm not going to go over everything. Okay. Because like, that's not why we are here for. So there is, after all these things, like, you have one more thing, which is called, you can build your own custom component. Okay. So how do you build a custom component is, once you do this, like, basically what you can do is you can write your own code here. Okay. You can just change the code here. You can write all your Python code here and you can build your own component. Once you build your own components, then you can add that component here. For example, like, why do you need these things, right? There's a lot of times, like, you would have something like, okay, I want to, what do you call, I want, like, your proprietary, basically your own company proprietary things, like, something that you want to combine one or two things into, like, one component. You can always go and write your code here, but it's all Python code. And you don't have to really write this code also. You copy this code, go to something like ChatGPT or something like that, and ask it to write the code. It will write the code for you. Okay. Don't bother about it. Like, you can just like, add anything here.
So when you say
So
low,
first, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Pratik.
oh yeah, so it's like no code. So I mean, it's like low code, right? So I mean, when you, can you go back to that previous screen?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So this code
Okay.
this code is auto generated, right?
Yeah, this code is auto-generated. Okay, let me help you here. Okay, let's do this. Let's take this one and let's build a, what do you call, okay, we go to ChatGPT. Okay, and what we'll do is, what happened? Okay. Okay, following is code for lang graph custom component. Please make a calculator tool to add, okay, calculator tool that supports plus minus divide by, what else is there, and divide by, where is that?
Multiplication, right?
Multiplication, right? Multiplication operations. Okay. Okay. You see that? Like, what I did is I did not write, like, what I'm going to do right now is operations. Okay, so let me, okay, now we'll do it. So it wrote the code for me. I'm going to copy this code. Go back here. So this is basically, you build a calculator component right now. So you can take, like, this is what we mean, like, when I said, like, you really don't need to write the code. You have to really understand the code. So if you go back here, you would be able to see that what was the original code versus what was the, what is the code here. So you see that, like, basically input value takes an expression. It does whatever it has to do, and it returns a value for us. Okay. So now, like, let's add our own component here. Okay. And let's do this. Okay. So let's do this. And let's do what we are going to do. Actually, we can use a component. So what we can do is basically, I can say that what we can do is basically, whatever the chat input that you're passing here, you can pass this onto this one. And like, I mean, like, we can do it, but we'll go to more complex use cases so that you understand what is the capability of this tool. So what we can do is basically we can say, hey, you know what, like, I give an input, like, it can use your tool and it can generate an output. Are you guys with me?
How, I think people will have a question, like with this new component you created, where does it sit? Does it sit in place of chat input, or will you be delegating a request to calculator?
So basically, like, let's do this actually. Okay. Let's do this. We created this component right now. Okay. What I can do is basically, let me try this. I think there should be something called a parse value, but let me try this if I can get that without, where is that? I should be using something called a parse value. Okay. Parse data. But let's try to see, like, let's try to see if this one works.
So
Let's
notice
do.
you removed that LLM portion completely.
Yeah, we don't need it because, like, we're just displaying the tool, right?
I see. Okay.
Okay. So basically, like, there is some what do you call what do you call some this thing is happening right now here. But basically, we had to little bit work on the code a bit more. I mean, like, I don't know how to give the inputs here to let's do. Let's try it again. Because we had to use something called parts data. Okay. It's 2 plus 2. I don't know. Does it up? Okay. So let me try this again. So there should be something. So what you can do is basically you can click here to see, like, what was the result. Invalid input
Yeah,
value. Okay,
yeah,
plus minus operator. Okay. So
yeah.
we can try again here. Like,
And you also did not give the API key.
no, we don't need API key right now, right? Because we are not using open API right now. All we are doing is, like,
Local code.
we just, it's a custom code. Basically, we are calling a custom code. That's all.
Okay.
Now we can go here and see, because usually, like, what we have is we have to call the values for here, right? So what we have to do is, like, once you receive the input, parse data. Parser, cursor.
So I know Bhuvan, not Bhuvan, Sham, we'll run out of time like quickly, right? So maybe
Yeah,
last 5 minutes we can or
yeah,
or let's say if people have questions like addition to this. Um,
yeah. So I mean, I'll send you the what do you call the proper what do you call the way to do it. I'll just share that one with you guys. But this is basically what we had to do is basically it is returning a JSON. So we need a parser. Once a parser comes out, the output comes out from the parser, goes to your what do you call your output. So, I
yeah.
mean, this is one way to do it. Once you have done it, you can publish it and see here. So basically, once you publish it, so there are two ways, right? One way is that, you have built all this workflow. One way to do it is basically use the chat window that we have, the playground, whatever we have. The other way to do is your own custom, what do you call, custom UI. Custom UI, you want to call from your website, you want to call from anywhere else, what you can do is you can use this code. This is a URL. So where it is hosted right now, this is the URL. So this is the Python, there's a JavaScript, there's a curl script here. So if you see this here, we can directly call this one. This is the URL. This is we have to create an authentication token here, generate a token that gets stick here, and then input value and output value, and whatever the output chat window is there.
This
So
is
what
awesome.
it
This is
is,
awesome.
yeah. So this is how you can call from your own website. Okay. So so once you do
I
this,
think Bhuvan has a question. Bhuvan, do you have a question?
No, I'm good. I mean, thank you.
yeah. So now once we have it here, we go back and basically we'll go back here. If you see this, there are two what do you call? There are two projects that we have. So for example, I would quickly go through a couple of them so that you understand what's going on here. So if you see this here, you see this example, there is a URL, and from that URL is used as a tool. So what it is basically what do you call load and retrieve the data from a specified URLs, support output in the plain text, raw HTML or JSON. Okay, so they're saying an output format is this. So this is basically, as far as I understand, probably this is called traveler. So what we can do is basically we can add this component here. And then what it is used is basically, if you see this, this is used as a tool, meaning that agent will determine when this needs to be used and it will call it. For example, you say, hey, search the web and get this information, then summarize whatever the information that you got. What it's going to do is it is it knows which tool to use. It will call this tool automatically. So it is for example, this is another tool it is using, which is Yahoo Finance. It goes and finds out the ticker information from Yahoo Finance. So chat input is basically it is saying, hey, you know what? I want to know blah blah blah, what is the stock price of whatever it is. Okay. Yeah, here it is. Sorry, my bad. I don't have to repeat it here. It is already here. So what it does is basically once whatever chat input you give, it goes here, it determines whether here is a prompt. See this here? So here is your prompt. It says you're a financial agent, you're a helpful assistant. You must provide insights given the user question. You get the links and latest and relevant information. So basically, this is your prompt. Okay. Now, one thing it is very beautiful thing is whatever you put it here, input in a curly bracket, that would appear here. You see this here? Suppose let's say I say they'll put another one. I'll say um, input two. Okay. So you see that there'll be two in one. Where is that?
So Bhuvan, not Bhuvan, Sham, how do we get access to this? Is there a way you can share your workflows? We can have a look later, like offline, and then
Yeah,
we can
these
ask the
workflows
questions.
are these workflows are I'm using already the existing workflows.
I see. So if you can just put
So
the links to them on
yeah,
the chat so we
I'll
can
put it.
play with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So basically go
cool,
here and then you should be fine. You go here, you will be fine. So once it is
cool.
there, it goes here. So so what it is whatever we put it there, that comes over here as your outputs, inputs, whatever it is. So basically, you'll have more and more things here. So then, like, it is like, if you really look at it, it is going through two agents. So one is like, one agent is going through here, and then it is just using traveler search here. So, and this is like, this is only getting it from Yahoo Finance and like, normal search. So once it goes here, like, it combines the text. So basically what it is doing is it is combining whatever the text it got from there, from Yahoo, and whatever the text it got from here, it is combining both of them. And once it combines, it also combines like whatever it got from the
Sam, sorry
uh,
to bother. Sam, sorry to
uh-huh.
disturb you, but I think you are not sharing your screen.
No, I can see it. I can see. Can others
Oh,
see the screen? Yeah.
Yeah, I can see the screen as
Yeah,
well.
we can see his. Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
So
Then I apologize. Sorry for that.
no worries, no worries. Yeah. So I don't know what is this. This is another tool, I guess, like, Samba Nova, it seems. I don't know. It is some component. So there's like hundreds of components you can use. So this is one component says like, Samba Nova. So whatever the combined text they got, like, it is fed into the system, it kind of formats it, and then like, generates a chart output. So there are like, multiple, what do you call, multiple various kinds of, like, you want to build a rack system, or there's like so many templates here. You can just say like, you want to build a research agent. So what is a research agent is basically you give a topic, it kind of like, goes plans, like, what research plan it will go and do a research plan. And on each of the research plan, it goes to the web and gets all the information, then summarizes it, and like, tells you like, what it is. Text sentiment analysis is like, whether it is aggressive or like, it is good, like, sad, and all those things. You can say like, just ask it like, what is the mood of the sentiment of the text. So these are like vector store racks, and so many things, like, you can just click on it and don't do anything. You just like, click on it, paste it, and just see how the flow is working, and keep on like, there'll be so many flows. You can keep on working and understand like, all how all this is working right now. You can always start with a blank flow. Okay. So one thing I wanted to show you here is there are something called a global settings. So you remember like, we added a open API key. So that open API key comes over here. Okay.
Hey,
So that
Sham, we'll
open
have to,
API.
sorry, like, maybe
Yeah.
stop it here, because I know people will
Yeah.
start leaving at 8, right? But if you
Okay.
want to, like, do this, like, a thing even more next time, we can do it. I also wanted to ask people, like, what other topics they find they will be useful, so we can, like, Sham, we can talk about them as well. I know, Sonny, you raise your hand. Um,
Yeah, maybe, like, no, I just wanted to say, like last 5 minutes, I know that we are up on the time. So there are polls up in Sansa Technology website to see what would be the next topic the team would like to discuss for this meetup. So please feel free to put your insights on there. And just wanted to say, like, kind of, if you have any questions and all, please feel free to reach out to me. You can always, Amit, if you can share my contact info, that would be great. I know we are tight on time, but yes. And Shyam, thank you so much for sharing what you did. That was really, really helpful. And we
Thank you.
hope you can share more in future meetups also, like kind of some of the topics which you are really
Sure.
passionate about. So really appreciate that. Yep,
Thank you.
that's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
this was just super awesome, Sham. I really enjoyed your presentation. It was really awesome.
Thank you.
So, any questions for Sham? Anyone? Or any thoughts how we can make these meetings more productive? So Sandeep,
Amit, you
I
can
will,
quickly share.
I'll stop recording now, right? And then I'll share the recording on our website and also our group.